There is a number sitting in your bank account right now. And depending on what that number is, you are either in the top 50% of Americans, the top 25%, the top 10%, or somewhere you have never even considered possible. But here is what nobody tells you about that number. It is not the number that matters. It is what that number is doing while you are sleeping. Most people spend their entire lives optimizing the wrong thing. They chase income, they negotiate salaries, they celebrate raises. And then they wonder why, 10 years later, they feel exactly as financially trapped as they did before. The guy in the office next to you making $80,000 a year could be building more real wealth than the doctor down the street making $400,000. And that doctor could be one bad month away from financial disaster. This is not about how much you make. This is about understanding a game that most people are playing without knowing the rules. And today we are going to change that. I am going to show you exactly what it takes to reach the top 50%, the top 25%, the top 10%, the top 5%, and the top 1% in 2026. Not just the numbers. The psychology behind each level, the strategies that actually work at each tier, and the invisible wall that stops most people from ever breaking through to the next level. By the end of this video, you are going to know exactly where you stand. And more importantly, you are going to know exactly what it takes to get to the next level up. Because the rules are different at every level. And nobody tells you that until it is too late. My name is Miller, and I spend way too much time thinking about money and the invisible rules of wealth that nobody teaches you in school. Hit that subscribe button because we do this every couple of days. And stick around because in this video, I am going to show you the exact net worth number that most financial advisors never tell their clients about. The number that is not $13 million, not $4 million, a number that is much closer to where you are right now than you think. And once you hear it, the way you think about building wealth is never going to be the same again. Because here is the truth that the personal finance world breezes past and should not. Most people confuse income with wealth. They are not the same thing. They are not even close to the same thing. Income is what flows into your life every month. Wealth is what stays and grows after you are done spending. Let me give you a picture that is going to stick with you. Imagine two people, both are 35 years old. Both have been earning exactly $100,000 a year for the last 10 years. Same income, same starting line, same decade. Person A has a net worth of $900,000. Person B has a net worth of $40,000. $900,000 apart. From the exact same income over the exact same period of time. That gap is not luck. That gap is not timing. That gap is not a better job or a smarter investment or a lucky break. That gap is a single decision made 10 years ago about what to do with the difference between what they earned and what they spent every single month for 10 years. This is the fundamental truth about wealth in America in 2026. And once you understand it, everything else starts to make sense. Let us start with the income numbers because that is where most people begin when they think about wealth. The median household income in America right now sits at $88,300 a year in 2026. That means half of all households earn more than this and half earn less. If your household earns more than $88,300, you are officially above average. But here's the reality check. In most major cities, $88,000 barely covers rent, groceries, car payments, and basic bills. Being above average on income in 2026 does not mean you are comfortable. It means you are surviving slightly better than half the country. To crack the top 25% of income earners, you need a household income of around $160,000 annually. This is where families start to have real breathing room. This is where saving becomes possible instead of theoretical. This is where you stop surviving and start building. The top 10% of income earners starts at around $270,000 per year. This is where things get genuinely comfortable. Good neighborhoods, real vacations, actual retirement contributions that move the needle. The top 5% starts at around $360,000 annually. At this level, most families can afford almost anything they want within reason. Private schools, multiple properties, international travel, real wealth building happening in the background every single month. And the top 1% of income earners in America now starts at approximately $700,000 per year in 2026. This is where income becomes almost irrelevant to daily decision making. You earn more in a month than most people earn in a year. Now, here is the number that should stop you cold. You could be earning $700,000 a year and still be broke, not metaphorically broke, actually broke. There are people earning seven figures who have nothing to show for it because their lifestyle expanded faster than their income. Their cars are leased. Their houses are mortgaged to the maximum. Their credit cards carry balances. Their net worth is essentially zero despite years of high income. Income is not wealth. And until you truly believe that, the numbers I am about to show you will not change anything for you. Now let us talk about the number that actually matters. Net worth. Net worth is simple. Everything you own minus everything you owe. Your house, your investments, your savings, your car, minus your mortgage, your student loans, your car payments, your credit card debt. What is left is your actual financial position, your true number. The median net worth for American households in 2026 sits at around $210,000. Half of all households have more than this, and half have less. And before you feel good about that number, here is the context that changes everything. More than half of that $210,000 is home equity for most households, which means if you do not own a home, your net worth is probably significantly lower than you think. And if you do own a home, your net worth is largely illiquid, sitting in a building you live in and cannot easily access. For households under 35 years old, the median net worth is around $45,000. Let that sink in. The median person under 35 in America has a net worth roughly equal to a used car. That is not a safety net. That is barely a speed bump between you and a financial emergency. To be in the top 50% by net worth, you need more than $210,000. Achievable, but it requires consistent discipline over years, not months. The top 25% starts at around $700,000 in net worth. This is where real financial security begins. You own your home, you have meaningful retirement savings, and you could survive a serious financial shock without losing everything. The top 10% requires a net worth of approximately $2 million. $2 million. That is the number that separates the comfortable from the genuinely wealthy. At $2 million, your money starts working harder than you do. Your investments generate income. Your assets appreciate. You are no longer entirely dependent on your paycheck to maintain your lifestyle. The top 5% starts at $4 million in net worth, and the top 1%, the number that everyone talks about but almost nobody reaches, requires a net worth of at least $13.7 million in 2026. Let that sink in for a moment. The gap between the top 10% and the top 1% is nearly $12 million. That is not a step up. That is a completely different universe of wealth. And understanding that gap changes how you think about what you are actually building toward. Now I want to talk about what life actually feels like at each of these levels, because the numbers alone do not tell the whole story. When you are in the bottom 50% by net worth, every financial decision carries weight you cannot put down. Your car breaks down, and suddenly you are choosing between fixing it and paying rent. A medical bill can derail months of progress. A single unexpected expense can send you backward by a year. You're not building wealth, you are surviving. And surviving is exhausting in a way that people who have never done it cannot fully understand. Research shows that financial stress physically changes how your brain works. When you are worried about money, your brain is measurably less capable of making good long-term decisions. This is not a character flaw, this is biology. The mental load of financial scarcity consumes cognitive resources that should be going toward planning, creativity, and long-term thinking, which means the people who most need good financial decisions are the ones whose brains are least equipped to make them. That is the cruelest part of financial stress. When you break into the top 50%, you can finally breathe. You have some emergency savings, a small retirement account that is actually growing. You are not stressed about every single dollar, but you are still entirely dependent on your paycheck. Lose your job, and you have maybe 3 to 6 months before things get genuinely scary. The top 25% is where financial stress starts to fade into the background. You own a home. You have real investments. You are building wealth instead of just treading water. This is what most people think of as middle-class success. And by the numbers, it is above average. But it is still fragile in ways most people at this level do not want to admit. Here is where things get really interesting. The jump from the top 25% to the top 10% is not just about having more money, it is about having a fundamentally different relationship with money itself. At the top 10% level, families are not just saving more of their paychecks. Their money is generating income on its own. Investment accounts paying dividends. Real estate producing rental income. Retirement accounts large enough to compound meaningfully every single month. They are not just earning money from their time, they are earning money from their money. And that distinction changes everything. When your assets start generating more income than your expenses require, you have crossed a line that most people never cross. You no longer need to trade time for money at every moment. You have options that simply do not exist at lower wealth levels. You can take a pay cut for work you love. You can start something risky. You can take 6 months off without catastrophe. That optionality is worth more than any salary number. The top 5% takes this further. These households have built enough wealth that their investments generate substantial income entirely on their own. They might still work. Many of them love what they do. But they are not working because they have to. That distinction changes every career decision, every relationship decision, and every life decision they make for the rest of their lives. And the top 1% has essentially escaped the traditional relationship between time and money entirely. Their wealth generates more wealth automatically, often faster than they could spend it if they tried. They are not thinking about retirement. They are thinking about what they build that outlasts them. Now I want to talk about the invisible wall. The thing that stops most people from ever breaking through from one tier to the next. And it is not what you think. It is not lack of income. It is not bad luck. It is not the economy or the housing market or interest rates. It is lifestyle inflation. And it is the most effective wealth destroyer in human history. Here is how it works. You earn $50,000 a year, and you dream about earning $100,000. You are absolutely certain that $100,000 will solve everything. Then you get to $100,000, and your lifestyle expands immediately. Better apartment, newer car, more dinners out, more subscriptions, more everything. and somehow you feel exactly as financially tight as you did at 50,000. So now you are certain that 200,000 will solve everything. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation. Your brain is wired to normalize whatever situation you are in and then want slightly more. The person earning $200,000 feels the same financial pressure as the person earning $50,000 because their expenses have grown perfectly in line with their income. The gap between what they earn and what they spend has stayed exactly the same. And that gap is the only thing that builds wealth. Let me show you this with two real families. Meet the Thompsons. They earn $180,000 a year combined. Beautiful house in a great neighborhood. 2 new cars, private school for the kids, 2 international vacations a year. Their net worth at 50 is $380,000. Their neighbors, the Mitchells, earn $90,000 a year combined. Modest house, reliable used cars, public school, 1 vacation a year, usually driving distance. They have been investing the gap between what they earn and what they spend for 20 years. Their net worth at 50 is $1.4 million. Same street, same age, nearly 4 times the wealth. The difference is not income. The difference is understanding that wealth is built in the gap. Here is where I want to be completely honest with you, because most financial content tells you what you want to hear. This channel tells you what you need to hear. The median American household will never reach the top 10% by net worth, not because they cannot earn enough, because they never learn the strategies required to get there. And here is what makes this particularly brutal. The strategies that work at each level are completely different from the strategies that work at the level below. Using the wrong strategy for your level is like trying to climb a mountain using hiking boots designed for a flat trail. You will exhaust yourself and go nowhere. If you are in the bottom 50% right now, your one job is this. Build a 3 to 6 month emergency fund and eliminate every high-interest debt you carry. That is the entire strategy. Do not invest in anything. Do not start a side hustle until the debt is gone. Do not buy real estate, the emergency fund, and the debt. Everything else is noise. If you are in the top 50%, you shift focus. Maximize every employer retirement match you have access to first, because that is a guaranteed 50 to 100% return on day one, and literally nothing else on earth competes with it. Then, build your retirement contributions to the legal maximum. Then, start investing every spare dollar in low-cost index funds. Simple, boring, extraordinarily effective over time. If you are in the top 25%, you need to start thinking about tax optimization. At this income level, the difference between a thoughtful tax strategy and a careless one can be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars over a career. This is where a real fiduciary financial advisor pays for themselves many times over. And if you are approaching the top 10%, the conversation changes entirely. You are no longer just accumulating assets. You are building systems, multiple income streams, business ownership, real estate, alternative investments, generational thinking. You're thinking about how to make your wealth resilient across decades, not just how to grow it in a good year. Now, let me tell you something that is going to reframe how you think about these wealth tiers entirely. The difference in lifestyle between someone worth $2 million and someone worth $20 million is surprisingly small on the surface. Both families live in nice homes. Both drive quality cars. Both take real vacations. Both send their kids to good schools. The $20 million family might have a slightly bigger house, slightly more exotic trips, but their day-to-day lives look remarkably similar to the $2 million family from the outside. So where does the real difference lie? It lies in their relationship with money itself. The $2 million family still thinks about money regularly. They check their investment accounts. They have a budget even if it is a generous one. They feel the weight of major financial decisions. The $20 million family has transcended most financial decision making. They do not think about money because they have enough that most purchases become irrelevant. The question is never, can I afford this? The question is simply, do I want this? That shift from can I afford this to do, I want this is the real definition of financial freedom. And here is what most people do not realize. That shift does not require $20 million. Research consistently shows that for most households, somewhere between $2 and $5 million in invested assets is the inflection point where money stops being a source of stress and starts being a tool you use to build the life you actually want. $2 to $5 million. That is the range where most people experience what the truly wealthy experience every day, not the top 1%, not $20 million. 2 to 5 million. That is the real target for most people watching this. And here's the beautiful irony. The people most likely to reach $2 to $5 million are not the highest earners. They are the people who understood early that the gap between income and expenses, multiplied by time, is the only formula that actually matters. The teacher who invested consistently for 30 years. The nurse who never upgraded her car when her salary increased. The engineer who kept living like a student for the first 5 years of his career. These are the people who reach financial freedom. Not because they earned the most, because they understood the game. So let me give you the number that actually matters for the average person watching this right now. $2 million in invested assets generating 8% annually produces $160,000 a year in passive income. After a smart tax strategy, that number covers a genuinely comfortable lifestyle in most parts of the United States without ever touching the principal. Your money lasts forever because you are only spending what it generates. And here is what $2 million actually requires from a 30-year-old starting today. $2,000 a month invested consistently in a simple, low-cost index fund, earning the historical average of 8% annually, produces approximately $2 million by age 55. 25 years, $2,000 a month. That is the price of financial freedom for most people. Not a lottery win, not a successful startup, not a crypto moonshot, not an inheritance. $2,000 a month, invested consistently, in the most boring investment vehicle that exists. The problem is not that people cannot find $2,000 a month. The problem is that lifestyle inflation quietly consumes that $2,000 before it ever gets invested. The car upgrade, the apartment with the nicer kitchen, the streaming services that multiply silently, the gym membership that gets used twice a month, the subscriptions that renew quietly in the background of your life. None of these things are dramatically wrong on their own, but together, they are the exact price of the financial freedom you say you want. Financial freedom is not complicated. It is just uncomfortable. It requires making choices today that your future self will thank you for, even when your present self would rather have the upgrade. Here is what I actually want you to take away from this today. Rich is temporary. Wealthy is permanent. Rich is an income number that can disappear tomorrow if you lose your job, your business fails, or the economy turns against you. Wealthy is a net worth number that compounds whether you show up to work or not, whether the economy is growing or contracting, whether you are healthy or sick. Wealth has a momentum that income never has. The top 1% is not your target. Your target is freedom. And freedom for most people sits somewhere between $1 and $3 million in invested assets. The number where your money generates enough passive income to cover your lifestyle without requiring you to trade your most valuable resource, your time, for it. And here is the most important thing I can tell you today. The gap between where you are now and that number is not determined by your income. It is determined by the difference between your income and your expenses, multiplied by time and compound interest. That gap is more in your control than most people are willing to admit. The person scrolling through someone else's vacation photos on social media has a choice they make every single day. They can keep optimizing for the appearance of wealth, the car, the apartment, the clothes, the lifestyle that looks rich from the outside and costs everything on the inside. Or they can start building the real thing. The real thing is quieter. It does not show up on social media. It does not get admiring looks in the parking lot. It does not feel impressive at dinner parties. But it shows up every morning when you wake up and realize that today, for the first time, you do not have to do anything you do not want to do. That is what all these numbers are really about. Not the tiers, not the percentages, not the net worth thresholds. The freedom to choose. And that freedom is available to more people than realize it. If they stop chasing the appearance of wealth long enough to start building the real thing. And if this video changed even slightly the way you think about money and wealth, then do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button, because this is exactly what we do here. Every couple of days, we pull back the curtain on the financial systems that are quietly shaping your life so you can see them clearly and make better decisions. No fluff, no get rich quick. Just honest conversations about money that most people are too afraid to have. You found this channel for a reason. Stick around. The next one might change everything.